Hi guys, welcome to Python tutorial series. In this video, I would like to discuss inheritance in Python. What is inheritance? Inheritance is the process of deriving a new class from an existing class. Inheritance is the process of deriving a new class from an existing class. The syntax for inheritance is: first you define a parent class. First you define a parent class. You write class, parent class name, colon, pass, here parent class code goes, right? And then you derive a child class from the parent class. You derive a child class from parent class. You write the class keyword, then you write the child class name, in brackets you write parent class name. So this indicates child class inherits from the parent class. Understanding? What is parent class? Parent class is a class from which members are inherited. Members means attributes and methods. Parent class is a class from which members are inherited. Child class is a class which inherits the members of another class. Child class inherits the members of another class. Parent class is also referred as base class or superclass. Parent class is also referred as base class or superclass. Child class is also referred as derived class or subclass. Parent class, child class, base class, derived class, superclass, subclass, guys. So these are the terminology, okay, inheritance. What happens on inheritance? What happens on inheritance? On inheritance, a child class inherits the members of a parent class. On inheritance, a child class inherits the members or attributes and methods of a parent class, guys. What is the benefits of inheritance? Benefits of inheritance are reusability and extensibility. Benefits of inheritance are reusability and extensibility. That means in the parent class, whatever the code we write, it is automatically inherited to the child class. We need not to rewrite the code in the child class. So it reduces the code redundancy, guys. Extensibility, that means we can add new attributes and methods to child class to extend it, guys. So benefits of inheritance are reusability and extensibility. Let's see example. We are taking an example of a car here. Okay, we are taking example of a car. In the car class, you can see I am adding two attributes, speed and max speed, and one method, that is display details. Here we are inheriting the supercar from the car class. So what happens here? The supercar class automatically inherits the speed, max speed and display details. Automatically it inherits. We need not to rewrite this code inside the supercar class. Let's have a demo and understand. Okay, you get the clear idea. Here I have Python IDLE shell and the Python file open. Let me delete the previous code. Okay, here I am creating a class called as car. Okay, car, and it is going to be an empty class, pass. And we know that when we create a class, we can create an instance from it. So here I am saying car is equals to car bracket bracket. So this is how we create an instance of a car class, right? Now this class is going to have a constructor. So I say here define underscore underscore init underscore underscore. First parameter, it is going to have self, and then we are going to pass here the car speed and the car's maximum speed. Car's the maximum speed. And then I say here self dot speed should be equal to speed that we are passing, and then self dot max speed. Max speed should be equal to max speed that we pass. Now when we create the instance, we should pass the speed and max speed. So let's say car speed should be 0 and maximum speed, let's say 50. Okay, maximum speed 50. So 0 is stored in the speed, 50 is stored in the max speed, and this car is going to have two attributes, speed and max speed. Automatically car dot speed is set to 0 and car dot max speed is set to 50, right? That's what happens. Now inside this I am going to add the method define display details, and it is going to have the first parameter self, and inside it we are going to print the speed. Here I say self dot speed, comma, we also display max speed, comma, self dot max speed, bracket close. Okay, now what happens guys? Of course, what happens here, the car is created, it is going to have speed 0 and maximum speed 50. We can display the details, right? So here I can say print car dot speed. Definitely we'll see the output 0 here. Then I say here print car dot max speed. Definitely we'll see here 50 displayed. And then I say here car dot display details. Display details method. You can see I'm saying car dot display details. Display details is this method. So it displays speed, self dot speed will be 0 and max speed 50. So if I save this one, okay, if I save this one and say run module, you see we got the output car dot speed 0, car dot max speed 50, and car dot display details is displaying speed is self dot speed, that is 0, and max speed, that is 50. Let me add here colon symbol, and here I use a comma and a colon. I save this and say run module once again. You can see speed is 0 and max speed is 50 displayed here. Fine. Now I'm going to explain how this code is exactly going to work behind the scene. I'm going to copy this code and go to MS Paint and paste the code here. Okay, Control V. I pasted the code. You can see that. Fine. We are here. Now what happens? Let's understand step by step. Okay. Control comes to this place. Car equal to car 050. What happens here is Python creates one empty object. Okay, its address is hash a1. This newly created memory location address is sent while calling the constructor. So we know that when we create an instance, of course the constructor of the class is called. So while passing 050, of course it passes the address of newly created object, that is hash a1. Hash a1 is sent. What happens here? The control comes from here to here. Python creates 3 memory locations, one for self, and one for speed, and one for max speed. Okay, in the self, what it stores hash a1. It stores hash a1, and once the address is stored in a variable, it starts pointing to that memory location. So here self is pointing to the memory location whose address is hash a1, that is the newly created object, which is empty actually. And in the speed 0 is stored, and in the maximum speed 50 is stored, right? So here 0 is stored in speed and 50 is stored in max speed. Understanding? So that's what happens. After that, self dot speed equal to speed. Okay, self means this object which has the address, you can see hash a1. So there is no speed variable here. There is no speed, right? So what Python does, it creates one memory location inside this object with the name speed. Self dot speed should be equal to speed. Speed is 0. So 0 is stored in this one. Okay. After that, self dot max speed should be equal to speed. You can see in the self means in hash a1, there is no max speed variable. So it creates one more memory location here, and its name is going to assign max speed, and max speed should be equal to max speed, right? Self dot max speed should be equal to max speed, that is 50. So 50 is stored here. After that, what happens? Of course, the control comes back to the place where we have called the constructor. The control comes back. When the control comes back, these 3 memory locations are removed. Okay, they are not available in the memory. And when the control comes back, it assigns hash a1 to car. So Python creates one more memory location here with the name car. Inside that it stores the address hash a1. Inside that it stores the address hash a1. And once we store the address in a variable, it starts pointing to that memory location. So car starts pointing to the memory location whose address is hash a1. So this is actually our object car, guys. This is actually our object car. So we have successfully created a car object with the speed variable value 0 and car with max speed of 50. So that's what happens when this code is executed, guys, okay, in the memory. Fine. After that, what we are doing, we are telling print car dot speed. So car dot speed is 0. That's what we are getting here. Then print car dot max speed. Car max speed is 50. That's what we are getting here. And then car display details we are calling. When we are calling display details, what happens here is it is going to send the value of the car. So I told you, you can see here it has a self parameter, right? There's a parameter called self. So what is sent here? It is going to send the value in the car. So address of this memory, that is hash a1. Hash a1. So hash a1 is sent and stored in the self. So what happens here? Python creates a memory location for the self. In that, it stores the address hash a1, and what happens here? Our self starts pointing to the memory location whose address is hash a1. It starts pointing to the memory location whose address is hash a1. So this memory block is actually hash a1. Okay. Now print speed colon. So Python displays speed colon, and then we are saying self dot speed. So self dot speed is 0. It displays 0, and then comma max speed colon self dot max speed. Self dot max speed is 50. So it displays 50. Understanding? After that, the control comes back. So we are getting this output, guys. We are getting 0, 50, speed 0, max speed 50. So this is what exactly happens behind the scene, guys. This is what exactly happens behind the scene when this code is executed. Okay, great. Okay, great. Now what I am doing, I am going to create another class. I am going to create a class called as supercar. And here supercar is going to inherit from the car class. So you can see I have written the child class name, which is supercar, and the parent class name is car. So I am inheriting supercar from the car class, and then it is not going to have anything. It is just going to be an empty class. Now when a supercar inherits from a car class, automatically its attributes and methods are inherited to supercar here. So what happens? The speed, max speed, display details are inherited to the supercar. What is the meaning of that? If I come down, I can create instance of the supercar, right? I can create the instance of supercar class. So I say here supercar equals to supercar. I should pass the supercar speed and max speed, because implicitly the child class calls the parent class constructor, guys. So we should pass the speed and max speed. So here speed I give, let's say supercar speed is 0, max speed is 300. Okay, max speed is 300. Now let's understand what happens when this code is executed. Okay, when we inherit, what happens when we inherit the child class from the parent class. Let me copy this code, okay, so that I can explain it in the MS Paint exactly what is happening behind the scene. Here I open one more MS Paint and I paste the code, Control V to paste, okay, and I'm going to delete this code from here. Okay, I delete this code, only this much will have. Now let's understand what happens step by step. Okay, now the control comes to this place. Of course, supercar equals to supercar 0300. What happens when we create a instance? Of course, Python creates one empty object. Let's say its address is hash b1. We know that whenever we create a new object, the constructor of that class is called. Here there is no constructor. Explicitly we have not written any constructor here. So implicitly it calls the base class constructor. While calling, address of newly created object is sent, that is hash b1. So this one has address hash b1. So here hash b1 is sent. Hash b1 is sent. Of course, it goes to supercar. There is no constructor explicitly defined, so it goes to base class constructor. Here 3 memory locations are again created, one for self, one for speed, and one for max speed. In the self, what is stored? Hash b1. Hash b1, that is address of newly created memory location, that is object hash b1. It starts pointing to this memory. And then 0 is stored in speed, 300 is stored in max speed. And then the next statement is executed, that is self.speed equal to speed. Self means hash b1. There is no speed, so it creates one memory location called as speed, and inside that stores the value of speed, that is 0. And then self.max speed equal to max speed. So there is no max speed in the self, that is in hash b1. So it creates a memory location and calls it max speed. Inside that it stores the 300, and then the control comes back. When the control comes back, what happens? The address of newly created memory location, that is hash b1, is assigned to supercar, here the object. So Python creates one more memory location for supercar variable, supercar. In that it stores hash b1, and what happens? Once we store address in a variable, it starts pointing to that memory. So supercar starts pointing to the memory block whose address is hash b1. Understanding? And then the memory locations allocated for self, max speed, they are actually removed from the memory. And you see that we got a supercar. Okay, we got a supercar object with speed and max speed. We have not defined the speed and max speed in the supercar class, right? We have not defined here the speed and max speed, but they are part of the supercar instance here. So speed and max speed are created in the supercar instance. I can prove that if I come down and say here print supercar, super, supercar dot speed, definitely we'll see the output 0. And if I say here print super, supercar dot max speed, definitely we'll see the output displayed 300, right? Because supercar max speed is 300, right? So you can see I open the Python ideally shell and the Python file. If I save this and say run module, you see we got 0, 300, right? Car speed is 0, car max speed is 50, because that's what we have defined here. Whereas supercar speed is 0, supercar max speed is 300, because that's what we passed here. Understanding? As I told, when you inherit, methods are also inherited, right? Not only attributes and methods are inherited. So I can simply say here supercar dot display details. I can simply call this method. So definitely it displays speed 0, max speed 300. So if I save this and say run module, you see we got speed 0, max speed 300. That is what the supercar speed and max speed, right? In the case of car, it has displayed speed 0, max speed 50. In the case of supercar, it is going to display 0 and 300 here. So how this code works? Okay, let me explain how this is executed also. So if I come here to the code, let me paste here the same code over here. Okay, I pasted. Let me make it black. Okay, what happens here? Of course, when display details is called, what happens here? The value inside supercar is sent, because it has self parameter. You can see that value inside supercar. So that is hash b1. Hash b1 is sent here. So in the self, it creates one memory location called as self. So in the self, it stores the address hash b1, and self starts pointing to this memory whose address is hash b1. Self starts pointing to the memory whose address is hash b1. Understanding? Next, what happens? Print speed colon. So it displays speed colon self dot speed. Self means hash b1. Self dot speed is 0. So it displays 0, comma max speed, right? Max speed colon self dot max speed. Self is pointing to b1, max speed is 300 there, so 300 is displayed. Speed 0, max speed 300. That is what we are getting here, self 0, max speed 0. So always remember, self indicates the object with which currently we are working. Self indicates the object with which currently we are working. If you are working with a car, self indicates car. If you are working with a supercar, self indicates supercar, guys. Understanding? So I hope you got the clear idea about inheritance, right? Even though I have not written any code here, this code is inherited over here. So that's what the benefit of inheritance. Reusability. You write the code, automatically it is inherited here, that means reused in the child class. And even you can extend the child class as per your need, that we'll see in the upcoming classes, guys. For this video tutorial, this much is enough, guys. I hope you guys have clearly understood what is inheritance in Python. If you have any doubts, feel free to put them in the comment section. I'll be happy to clear, guys. If you like this video, hit the like button and share with your friends so that everyone will get benefited. For more benefits and be updated, do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Keep learning, keep coding, keep sharing. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. See you in the next tutorial.